Well, good evening, track gang. Hopefully, this audio is working. Hopefully, we shall see. I know that the pre show did not work, and I kind of think I know why, but it is what it is. I didn't have time to go in and really mess with it. Um, yeah. Why do we always have. Steve, I wish I knew. I wish I knew. This one here has more to do with the interface between OBS and StreamYard. For some stupid reason. All right, Sparky. Oh, everybody's a critic. Anyway, let's just get rocking and rolling into this thing. I've had to minimize the setup here because, well, it's kind of funny. If anybody saw it earlier, there was actually, I'm going to back up a minute and we'll get into what happened earlier. Actually, what happened last night and then what happened earlier. Anyway, so for those that are new to the Sidetrack Sunday gang, you'll notice that there are people in chat that have a wrench that are blue or purple in color. Those are my Smurfs. They're the moderators that help keep you in line and hopefully keep me going in the right direction, which doesn't happen. I guarantee you that. By the time this thing is done, we'll be off the track and somewhere in a ditch somewhere. So, especially with the way things have been going the last 24 hours or so. Oh boy. Anywho, so let's get into it. We've got AC and let me try that again. ANC Railroad, the N Scale and Life Journey. Welcome in. We've got Artie over at the Osmerica Model Railroad. We've got Caboose, the 1973 Channel 1 in the house. Dave from DB Tech is here. Mike from the Deep Run Railroad. Derek Alexandria. Derek. Gosh darn it. I need to get my. Anyway, Derek Alexander is in the house. We've got the Flying Crow here. We've got JD. Grandpa Rails is in the house. We got Joe Reader over at the Black Rock Central. We got John Knopfel. We got John Podzinski. And we got Mr. Ken Amos, B&O number 51 in the house. Dwight Curley from the Curley Express. We got Kyle Stevens. We've got Lynn McCurdy over at the HDMMRC. We got Nissy J. We've got Rail Artist. We've got Ray Bertelson. We've got myself, although I'm not sure that I'm here. Of course, then again, I never am. We've got Mr. Ron Moen. We've got Santa Fe Bob. We've got John number 2 over at the Schuylkill River Valley. We've got Dave Sparky 107 in the house. We've got Steve 87th PSAP. We've got Thomas Garassi and Trackside Mike. It's interesting. It doesn't look like the 3 Dubs is in here yet. Okay. Anywho. So now that we're done with that, I can go ahead and get rid of that. And I can get rid of that. And then we're just back over to this. All right. So if anybody else pops in, I guess I'll just have to. I'm just now down to StreamYard. I'm going to start off with the technical difficulties. Oh, let me get something to drink here first because this is going to take a bit. Anyway, we're gonna get right into this. So as most of you or some of you may have seen earlier today, I went ahead and put up a premiere that was actually recorded last night of me, Grandpa Rails, and Rick, and the Build Crew 3.0, the scratch build of the Willamine house. Well, first off, it took a bit to get the 3 of us together. We were supposed to have this thing. We were supposed to have this thing video or recorded like 2 weeks ago. That was partially my fault and the miscommunication amongst the 3 of us, which it happens. So we recorded it last night at 9:00. We were, I guess, hanging out for about an hour, and then we went from there. We got that done, and I went ahead and I was waiting for it to show up on YouTube. Well, it did, but it wouldn't let me download it so I could edit the darn thing down because like I said, we talked for over an hour. So I went ahead and, waited this morning at 10 a.m. It finally released it to download, or actually it was probably closer to 10:30. It finally released it to download. So I downloaded it. Then I went ahead and started editing. I finished the edits the first time about 11:30. Went ahead and did the upload, and it came up in black and white. Okay. So I go ahead and I go back in, and I realized what had happened. And instead of using one of my presets in VideoPad, I used a new one, and it defaulted everything down to 720p. Well, that was part of the problem. So I went ahead and changed it back up to 1080i and then re-uploaded it. Perfect. Everything seemed to be fine. That's until the premiere decided to go off at 2:00 in the afternoon, and the first minute was all screwed up. And that was the video that we had done, back in September, saying that we had gotten the crew back together, the three of us, and we were doing this build. So the first minute and a half of that video is I don't know what's wrong with it. I don't know if I can fix it or not. I had thoughts of going in there and editing it out. Artie's like, why edit it? It's going to make it harder for us to come up with new. No, there was some stuff that went on in the background, Artie, that we were discussing. I ended up cutting like 15 minutes out of it. One part of it was, hey, Rodney's in the house. Welcome in, Hot Rod Rodney. One of the things that we had actually talked about that was in there that was really mainly for the three of us was something that's going to be coming up with the building going forward that needed to be discussed and hashed out. And, the three of us got that taken care of last night. But yeah, and then I guess it was 5:30 tonight. I go in here to try and use this thing, and for whatever reason, I cannot get StreamYard to recognize VB audio cable, which is what I use to be able to output the different sounds and things of that nature. So the only thing that works is the mic. Thankfully, that works, because yesterday, before we even got to the point where we could record anything last night, hey, Corey, Ken, let's see, who else is in here? Oh, it's everybody saying hi. Okay, never mind. Anywho, oh yeah, okay, Artie. Make up false gossip, laugh out loud. I see how it is. Hey, Corey, welcome in. So yesterday, here it is. I'm getting this laptop set up, which I am back on my daughter's laptop again. Thankfully, we figured out what the issue was with that. There was a driver update that was put out, and apparently folks noticed it in with Windows 10, but apparently it's happening in Windows 11 as well. And you have to go in, stop the audio service, make a couple of changes, and then restart the audio service, and everything's fine. So that I knew how to fix. The problem is if I hook the laptop up to the Lightning box that I've got, it doesn't work. The monitors show up, but I cannot get the audio to stay stable. So I'm kind of out of luck in that direction. So I'm down to right now, what I've got the laptop set up here with a USB hub with 2 cameras plugged in and the wireless keyboard. That was the only way I could get things to work last night, because the mic is in the other one. You know what, Heath? It's just my luck. That's what it is. No, to be honest, if you go back to the beginning, Heath, it's There was an update done after the stream that I did with Rachel back in September, before the Crab Feast. That was the last time this thing worked on the Lightning box. And after that, it hasn't worked on it since. And I was talking to Rick last night. There's a possibility that what needs to be done is there's probably an update that needs to be put on that Lightning box to get it to sync up with this laptop. I can't use my desktop because that thing. Well, to do this, I could probably use it if I was only doing streaming and not sharing anything or not having anybody else up. It'd be fine, but I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So, and why you only see videos I record on old Sony downloaded to an old computer. Yeah, loosened up behind the keyboard. Thanks, JD. I appreciate that. I see how it is. Yeah, I mean that's what I'm talking about already. I mean, we already figured out earlier this year the issue with my mainframe over here, the main computer, is the fact that it doesn't have enough memory now to run the updated versions of StreamYard or OBS. You know, they're looking for a lot beefier CPU and so on and so forth, and that thing just doesn't have it. The laptop does, but the problem is it's not talking to the Lightning box. So, did you ever get your 3D printer set up? Well, that's another story. I hear we suffer from the ID10 tears. Yeah, pretty much. That's me. Yeah. Go Linux and ditch Microsoft. Well, yeah. I don't think StreamYard works in that direction or OBS either way. But the 3D printer, I have the software, but I haven't had a chance to dig into that to get it over onto the other computer, my old Windows 7 computer, to go ahead and get things set up on there. I'm going to need to do that like in fairly short order now that I've got the first building done. So, oh, Ray, that's funny. Ha. Great. No, I'm not sitting up. No. Anyway. Anywho, yeah, I haven't fixed the 3D printer yet. Man, I've really been contemplating just going ahead and getting another one, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, Rail Artist, I agree. Now, I can't remember what the heck I had for breakfast, but that's another story for another time. So, other than that, like I said, hopefully folks were able to catch the premiere this afternoon. Don't pay attention to, like I said, like the first minute and a half of that thing. That drove me nuts. You know, Windows doesn't like my laptop. It's too old for any updates. Yeah, I've got a computer for that. I've got a computer like that too. So yes. Mm-hmm. Hey, PK&W Model Works is in the house. Welcome in. And really, Rodney, it's not even that. It's not working at all. Bacon and cheese burritos. Nice. I think I had sausage and egg burritos yesterday. I don't remember. Yeah, Artie and Lynn are going back and forth about the cookies. Lynn was here first, but anyway. So, hey, welcome in, Happy Valley. What's happening, Mr. Ed? Let's see here. So what else is going on? There really hasn't been a lot. My buddy Eric came over this afternoon and picked up his locomotives that he had dropped off back in April. for me to look at. And of course, when he got them home, he told me that for one reason or other, the one that I did work on, and it was running the other night when I had it on the layout here, but for whatever reason now, the only thing it's doing is lighting up. So I guess I'm going to have to take another look at it. Wait, cheese and crackers, man. I tell you what. Oh, boy. Thanks a lot, Rodney. Yeah, I'm not sure who we're watching. Are we watching something? Anywho. So that's basically been it. I ran the trains around this afternoon, and of course I went ahead and ran a couple of the freight trains through. Man, it's a tough crowd tonight. Then again, it is on any night, but geez whiz, really, Ken? Jeez. Man. Tough crowd. No respect. The race trains have friends. Oh, boy. Rent a friend. Oh, who's Ray? Jeez whiz. Tough crowd. No respect. So, anywho, but that's basically what's been going on. The building has taken up quite a bit of time. It's not rough until someone mentions the posts. Jeez. You know what, folks? I definitely needed to laugh after the way things have going. The problem is I'm even too broke to call Rent a Friend. So Oh, really, Ed? She's actually upstairs watching football with her boyfriend. Oh. Jeez. Yeah. Okay. So, I really didn't have. Well, I wasn't sure what was going to go on tonight. I wasn't sure how many issues were gonna pop up. So like I said, I was trying not to push my luck. Yes, thank you, ANC. I appreciate that. Yeah. Not sure if anybody caught the coffee and trains. I don't know if it was if it was, but I think it was actually last week. And you're downstairs. That's bad parent. No. The wife's upstairs. Oh my goodness. So anyway, the coffee and trains that Jimmy over at the DIY and Digital does he does them every week, but once a month he does a virtual model railroad show. And it was last week. Thank you, Caboose 1973. I appreciate that. Link for coffee and trains. That's Jimmy over at DIY and Digital. I'm not sure if one of my moderators can get there or if I'm going to be able to get there first. Let's see. Hey, John Author's in the house. Welcome in. Let's see here. DIY. No, there we go. Hold on a second. I'm almost there. Let's see. Videos. There it is. This should be the link to the no, there we go. That I think Heath put it up the DIY and digital, and then the one I put up is actually to the actual video. So, but myself and Lynn McCurdy, congratulations to him as well. We both made the same episode of Coffee and Train. So that was cool. That was really cool. I was glad that it finally got around. You know, I mean, the funny thing of it is the pictures that he used, the layout's changed a little bit since then, but that's okay. That's all right. You know, I mean, that's part of it. One of the things that I'm going to be working here on the side is not once I'm done, but when I have an intermission with the building of the Willamine house, I'm going to start working back on the bridge and dam scene. And one of the things is I'm going to be on a staycation between Christmas and New Year's, which will give me a little bit of time to get some stuff done down here, namely focusing in on the bridge and dam scene over there. As you all haven't seen it yet, because I wanted to post it Friday morning, and I things, like I said, things this past week just did not go according to plan at all. And I've actually got a video sitting on the camera that I have to get uploaded. So eventually, I'm hoping maybe that'll come out this week. But it'll talk a little bit more about the dam and bridge scene over there, what's happening with that, and some updates to the Beauville Yard area as well. Yeah, the dam bridge scene, the bridge and dam, yeah, it's damned all right. But yeah. Oh boy. Yes, I'm wearing pants. I actually had to go take my truck to the shop. So, you know, we did that earlier this afternoon, or actually did it right before dinner, and then came back, got dinner, and I came down here and got this rocking and rolling. But you know, between the dam scene that I want to work on, I've got stuff that I bought at the train show that I still haven't converted over to KD's yet. I've got the autism car that Mom and Son Trains put together for me that I haven't had a chance to mess with either, to even get a car card made for it yet, so I can actually run it on the railroad. That'll be some of the things that I'll be working on in the meantime of messing with this house, with the Willamine house. So yeah, the damn house build. Yeah, that's what we should have just called it, the damn house build. You know, that was really, you know, I mean, this thing has really been a beaut. I mean, it really has. And I mentioned it in our premiere earlier that this thing is just, it's a stinker. I mean, I've never done a scratch build before. I mean, I've obviously done the kit bash. I've got stuff that I bought back in 2020. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's just the way it is. You know, we get stuff and it goes off to the side. We don't forget about it, but we just never get around to it. Hey, Jay, John number 2. I think he's trying to push some buttons here. then again, I think you and I are, well, you, me, and Rick are the only 3 out of the 5 that have actually messed with a bridge. Hey, you know, the thing of it is what John did with that bridge is really, really cool. I mean, that bridge that he put together, considering the fact that yes, it was missing parts, to get it the way it looked, that was really cool. That was really cool. Okay, John, at least you got a program. PK and W's got stuff he has. You know, it's funny. I think, got some stuff underneath the layout that's probably about that old too, PK and W. So, you know, yeah. Yeah, it's been there for a while. Oh, man. Some of the stuff that, you know, years before I built this monster, you know, I didn't have any place for some of the stuff that's under the layout. Now I've got places for it, but the layout's not done to be able to put, you know, just don't ask John the count. Wait a minute. What was that? Don't ask John number 2 to. Oh, boy. My plan is to finish all the projects before buying more. Yeah, no, that never works. That never works, Ed. I can tell you that, right? I've got more projects on this thing than I care to even, you know, talk about. But, you know, that's the thing. I mean, I knew that this was going to be an undertaking when I put it together, you know, and I'm not talking about the house. I'm not talking about anything. I'm talking about the layout as a whole. You know, I knew what I kind of knew what I was in for. That doesn't work. Get over there. Never mind. Jeez. So, you know, but I mean, it's there's stuff that needs to be done. There's stuff that will get done. It's just going to take time. You know, it's, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day, and model railroads certainly aren't built in a day either. You know, and then you take a look at what Joe's doing over at the Black Rock Central with his, you know, urban renewal and revival, you know, taking old kits and revitalizing them, or taking them out and putting other kits that are the same thing back in, but doing them differently. You know, last weekend, I think it was last weekend, or maybe it was the weekend before, I made a stop over to Joe's house and saw what he did with that engine house. And it was just really cool to see that in person. You know, how much of a difference just backdating one building can make to a railroad, knowing that that's the era that he wanted it in. You know, it's unique. I mean, it's insane how one little change like that can just change the perspective completely. I say call Rachel. Call Rachel about what? Nacy? Oh boy. Pixie has already made 4 tunnels to raise half bridges. Oh, goodness gracious. Ask Rachel for help. Yeah, she's helped me with what? If you're talking about the technical issues, she's not familiar with OBS and StreamYard. The railroad issues, she actually did help me out, and that was part of the video that should have been out Friday that hasn't come out yet. You're quite welcome, Joe, and I mean that, dude. I mean that. Seeing the pictures was one thing. You know, seeing pictures of somebody's build is one thing. Seeing it in person is a completely another story, because you see things in that building that you don't see in the camera shots, even though, you know, we all try to spin the building and turn it and so on and so forth. But unless you're right on top, you don't see all the little details that are there when you see it in person. His issues at Ray Bogle's middle name. Yeah, more than likely. John Pod could go ahead and relate to that one, actually, if he's still around. But like I said, I mean, these things, and I know that, I mean, shoot, Heath, I have to apologize, buddy. I haven't been able to make the live streams because I've been bowling on Tuesdays, and I haven't had a chance to go back to see exactly what it is that you're doing. But the pictures that I've seen are absolutely, what you're building over there is absolutely incredible, dude. I can't wait to actually get caught up on some of the live streams that you've put together with that rebuild that you're doing of the Riverside transfer. That's amazing. Exactly. And that's what I'm talking about. You can. It's amazing to me, and they talk about the Model Railroader talked about this years ago. How just modifying a scene slightly can change the whole outlook and change the whole complexity or the visual of the railroad. Going ahead and taking that single track bridge that I had and using the parts that came in from folks. Hey, Russ over at the Rock-and-O Railroad, welcome in. Taking it from a single track to a dual track bridge and basically kit bashing that thing, changed that whole area. I mean, it did. To me, it did. And I know when I was talking to Rick last night, he's like, yeah, he says that thing, that rebuild was insane. Yeah, exactly, Heath. Exactly. I mean, and we're not just talking about rolling stock. We're talking about the actual automobiles too. That can change how things are perceived. Street signs. Who thought maybe a street sign or a billboard could actually, and they will. Those things will definitely change the feel of a railroad. And like you said, I mean, the locomotives, the rolling stock, the whole 9 yards, it'll change how things are perceived. No question. Exactly, Artie. Absolutely. It's the little changes that you can put in. And there you go, John. The same thing, weathering rolling stock. Absolutely. One of the things that I've always liked is throwing in some sort of off the wall or off the beaten path type scene. I had, well, not an off the beaten path, but a real small detail. One of the things that I have on the railroad that isn't out there yet because it's not in a section that's been finished is the houses under construction that Fowler had done years ago. And actually, it was I think they were done by Revell and then Fowler and then whoever else down the line. But I actually had men working on the inside of those houses or on the, just staged. And then somebody would look across it. Most people would just scan over it, but there were a few people who were like, oh, hey, look at that. I didn't catch that before. And those are the types of things that you wouldn't see on camera, or that you may not catch when you're on camera as you're panning across everything, So it is. It's amazing how just different little details can change how things look. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I was talking about Rail Artist. But it's too many vendors took plastic. Yeah, true. But I mean it's it's one of those things. Like I said, it's just the little details. And like I said, when you see somebody build something online and then you actually can get a chance to take a look at it in person, you see all the little idiosyncrasies and the touches and everything that actually went into putting that together. Granted, with this building, and even with the bridge build, the courthouse, and now with this scratch build, it's like I told JD and Rick last night. I said, I think I've got probably close to 2 hours worth of content sitting on the camera back here. But that's I've got it. I tried to show the different things that were going on with what I'm doing. Rodney, one of the things that I've been wanting to tell you, one of the things that might help is just to go ahead and do it. Go ahead and just start laying some stuff out and messing with it, because, this is the same thing that I went through when I was over at my old house. I sat there and went through 40 some plans before I finally had something that I was happy with. And even at that, I never got a chance to build that one. It kind of morphed into this one. Hey, RWC Toy Man, welcome in, man. Ain't seen you around in a while. But, sometimes you got to go ahead and basically throw the paper out the freaking window and just look at it. And even if you have to kind of mock it up a little bit, like I said, when I built this one here, after going through so many plans over at my old house, like 40, like I said, I think it was like 46 of them, I kind of knew what I wanted. But when I got over here and I knew that what I had designed wasn't going to fit this space, I just sat there and just started throwing stuff together, and coming up with that. You can sit there, and I mentioned it even with this thing here. You can sit there and plan and plan and plan, and until you get the bench work in place, you're going to realize that even the best laid plans don't work. Hey, Mike Schuster, welcome in, sir. Long time no see. Let's see, who else? There was somebody else that had popped in here too, I thought. But yeah, it's sometimes you just gotta kind of have to bite the bullet and go from there. Take it easy, Rail Artist. I didn't realize you were skipping out there, bud. Exactly, Russ. That's exactly what it is. You overanalyze, and then you get to the point where it's like you get so stinking frustrated with it. It's like, I don't even want to do this anymore. And that's not good either. It's best just to go ahead and take a look at the space and kind of just figure out, well, if I lay this out in this way, I can do it this way and start, at least having something, here it is. The year that I started on this, which was 2019, I was so close that I wanted, yeah, I saw. Thanks, Derek. I was hoping to have trains running before Christmas that year, and I missed. I had them up. I had them running by New Year's, but I didn't have them running by Christmas. And I was so chomping at the bit that I actually went back and took out one of my old sets. I think it may have been the John Bull or the DeWitt Clinton, whichever one it was. And I set it up on the dining room table back here and let that run around. That satisfied me for a bit. It's like, okay, now let's get going. Let's see what else we could do. Had a screw sticking out of the side of the layout. Tried to take it out and the head snapped off. Pair of pliers, pair of vice grips. That would be my suggestion if you got a pair of vice grips. Thanks, Dave. That's the thing. That was the funny. I still remember when Joe came over here Joe Rader came over here and looked at the layout. He said, "Yeah, there's a lot of snow on here." So it's the truth. I just haven't. After I got the trains running, scenery became an afterthought. Because here's the other problem, and I know we've all kind of run into this one, is you go ahead and you come up with a plan, or at least you think you got a plan. And then you go ahead and you put that plan into action. And then you put it on and I think even Sparky's running this, you go ahead and you put it on the plywood or whatever the heck it is you're using. And then you realize that, wait a minute, I can't put that switch there because it's too close to this and it's not going to look right with what I want to put over there. So then you're reworking it. Well, if you go ahead and after you've reworked it, if you don't run your rolling stock and your locomotives and, so on and so forth across it, and you find out that there's issues, if you didn't run anything across it and you've already scenicked everything, it is extremely tough to go back and fix issues once you've got all the scenery done. So it's like, you know what? Yeah. Hey, Rick over at the Fultz Bailey Model Railroad is in. Welcome in, sir. Yeah, but that's the thing. Sparky, you got the same thing you've got trains that'll run. You can sit there and turn your layout on and let the trains just circle the helix and go from level 3 to level 1 and then back up again. So it's the same thing. You get to a point, it's like, great, and I can run the railroad, and now that it runs and I've basically beat it up, now I can start working on other things, putting in the industries, putting in the yards, things of that nature. You find out 3 years later that he wants to change the whole second level. It happens. It absolutely happens. Hey, the bridge scene, the bridge and dam scene over there, I've modified that thing, 3 or 4 times now? Beside the fact that the bridge was too big was too long for what I had originally cut out. So, I had to go back and modify that. So it happens, and then I've sat there and I've messed with Weichert Industrial. How many times have I changed the track arrangement in Weichert Industrial? It's the same thing. It's just, you don't know until you actually get the track in place whether your ideas that are either up here on the computer or on paper are actually going to work. Hey, good evening, Mom and Son. What's happening, Tammy and Ray? Good evening. But, it's I guess it's another one of these things. I look at what JD has now with his garage or shed that he's putting his railroad into, and Sparky with his shed. I'm still in all of that thing. A dedicated room to railroading, and that's all that's there. To a point, I think it makes things a little bit easier, but you still, let me back up a second. You're going to go around the room, whatever it is, at least once. In Sparky's case, 3 times, but you're going to go around the room at least once. So, where the bench work is going to sit. Then you have to, then you can sit there. To me, doing it that way, and that's kind of what I did with this, I put the bench work down and then I just started playing with track arrangements until I came up with something that I was comfortable with. And I know I've had a bunch of folks that have asked me about the front of the layout right over here, where the S-curves are. Why did you put in the S-curves? Well, because I didn't want the railroad to follow the edge of the layout. Unfortunately, once you get over towards the dam scene, you get over towards Beauville, you don't have much of a choice but to follow the edge of the layout. Granted, it's all corners. Most of it's corners and a few straights, but you kind of have to. You don't have too much of a choice. Over here, I was a little bit more open to where I could go ahead and not have it follow the edge. And that's a perfect example, JD. You're absolutely right. Everything looks great on paper until you put it together. And we're even finding that out with the scratch build. You know, I mean, it's everything looks great until you actually sit there and start messing with it. And it's the nature of the beast. And, you know, like I said, I know I went through, like I said, 40 some odd plans for this. And, you know, that was a mess. You know, it was driving me absolutely crazy. So, and Sparky, you know, it's funny because somebody today actually posted a video that they had just built a swing bridge. And I had the nightmare come back about the swing bridge that I had to build for that last layout that I had. I mean, it worked. It didn't look great, but it worked. Do I miss having the 4 loops and the 4 trains running? You know, to a point, yes. But on the same token, I realized that was just a stepping stone. You know, that was just a stepping stone to where I am now. That was still a toy. This is becoming more of a model railroad, even though it still can do continuous run. But you know, I can do operations on this thing. I can take a train from point A to point B. And you know, I mean, just to walk that distance, you know, Tammy and Ray have had a chance to do that. My buddy Big John had a chance to do that a while back. And it was funny because after I got done with Big John that one night, when he got finished running a train from Harrisburg to Richmond, I was like, so do you know how long it took you to get from point A to point B? And he's like, no, not really. He says, and to be honest, I was paying more attention to the train than where I was. I said, that's the whole point. I said, it actually takes you about a minute and a half to get from Harrisburg to Richmond. And he's like, wow. He said it didn't. He said it actually felt like it took. I think he said it actually felt like it took a little bit longer. You know, but you know, it's absolutely true. I mean, it is. Somebody back here, so that explains why you were crazy. No, I was crazy long before this. Let's see. Derek Alexandria. I don't know why I want to say Alexandria. That's because of the fact that we had issues in Alexandria, Virginia last week, but that's beside the point. I never seen a layout plan that showed where the derails would occur. Yeah. Go out and get a Bachman. Go out and get a Bachman Norfolk and a Western J class 611 and run it around. It'll find all the bad track work real quick. Learn as we go. Absolutely. You know, that's absolutely true. You know, that's all we can do. And, you know, I've said it before, but with this community, a lot of us in here, the reason why we're doing the videos that we do is to show that it's not perfect. It never was. I hate to say it's never going to be, because no matter what happens, and in fact, this afternoon, I knock on wood, I was extremely impressed. I had both of the Foltz Bailey Expresses running around this thing off of the dispatcher's panel. And not once did I lose a car or did anything derail, which was amazing. The thing ran for like 25, 30 minutes. I was impressed. I was like, woohoo! And that's considering the fact that I really haven't run a train on this thing since probably when everybody was here for the meet and greet. That was the last time I really had a train running on this thing. So, you know. Oh, yeah, there's no questions, Dave. This one here, you know, this one here is just a lot easier to mess with. And I've said it before, I never really knew how much fun and frustration you could have when you get into the operations side of things. actually mimicking a transportation system, which is what we're trying to do. At the end of the day, a model railroad is exactly that. You're trying to mimic a transportation system in miniature. And, having loops is great. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that, especially if you've got a yard and you've got industries and so on and so forth. You can pick stuff up, drop it off, so on and so forth. Hey, wonderful. But doing it this way, oh my goodness. Whee. And that's the thing, Rodney. That was the problem I had with my old layout was I had so much stuff stacked under the railroad that I could not use because I had no room for it. I had no way to store it. It's just like, it is what it is. It's like I had to come up with something to where I was going to utilize everything because it was getting to the point where if I don't start utilizing it, I'm going to have to sell it. I'm going to have to get rid of it because there's no point in holding on to it. And then, of course, then I'm going to want it back at some point. So, this way, it is what it is. I didn't care. I had my remote and Ray couldn't do anything about it. Oh, I'm just glad that everybody had a good time. That was it's hard to believe that was over a month ago already. Oh, man. That's true too, PK and W. Here we go again. It's perfect if you're enjoying it. Absolutely. It's your railroad. You do what you want. And if you try to get too nitpicky, that's when you start having issues. And I'm just like, yeah, no. I just want to have fun with it. Everybody's trains run perfect until the cameras come on. You betcha. Or until there's somebody there watching that isn't normally there. That's the truth. It's the absolute truth. Unless you're me and you do a crazy layout. You know what though? That thing looks awesome. I gotta tell you, that thing is freaking awesome. Tammy, that fantasy layout is cool. Honestly, perfect isn't really perfect. Well, that's a good one. That's true. And your convention, right? Exactly. Yeah, I tell you the truth. I think I've even seen issues when you go to the train shows and all with the modular layouts. And I don't know if Lynn's still here or not, but I guarantee you he can tell you that, they get them things set up in a fairly short order, but I guarantee you right after they're first put back together that they've got all sorts of bugs. In fact, Keith Paysinger was telling me that they had issues with the that Northeast Corridor Historical Society one that he had, or that he works on, that they had issues with that like Friday afternoon, Friday evening, maybe even Saturday morning before everybody got there. That there were still bugs in that thing. Unfortunately for the modulars, and again, if Lynn's here, he could probably relate to this, but those things are being torn down, boxed up, shipped off, unboxed, set back up, and then they're being run, and then they have to be torn down and moved again. And every time that you set something like that up and tear it down, and I know because I've been there, when I was telling my wife's aunts and uncle on Thursday, this layout, what's up underneath a Beauville yard is the original 1950s piece of plywood that my grandfather built the original railroad on that got this whole thing started, starting with my dad. And it was kept in the rafters of his garage after, my dad got old enough, and it was like, okay, we're done with the trains for right now. It went up into the attic of the garage. And then, of course, when I was born, my dad built one for me. And then, the rolling stock and the locomotives came up out of the basement. I believe that's where they kept them. And, that was the thing for Christmas for me until, we moved out, and when I was 5 years old, 1975. There you go. Exactly. I can't imagine the things that you guys go through with those modular railroads, Lynn. That would drive me absolutely bonkers. But what I was getting at is, when we moved into that house in 1975, that Christmas, my dad brought my railroad over. 1976, he brought his over, which had been sitting since the 1950s. The late 1950s, or probably 1955, 56, 57, somewhere in there, 58. That thing had been sitting for basically 20 years. The amount of work that it took to get that thing back up and running, not to mention the fact that it was only 2.5 to 3 feet off the floor, which made it extremely hard to work on. Just sitting, here it is, that wasn't set up every year. And then we get to the point where we're tearing it down in February, March, and then it's getting set back up in October, November. And then it's the cycle all over again. And then we expand it. So we went from 1 4x8 to 2 4x8s. And then I added a 2 by 5 foot yard. And I think it was at that point, my dad's like, you know what? We're not taking this damn thing apart anymore. It stayed up year round at that point. And of course, that's while I was in the service. And then that's when my parents, they had to move because the school system wanted to send my brother to a school that they weren't going to send him to. And they couldn't afford private school, so they ended up moving into the county. We lived in Baltimore City. They moved to Baltimore County and got into a better school system. And, but the railroad never got set up. It just never got set up. And there was something in here by PK&W that I wanted to go back to. Saw that Walthers is selling an adjustable track section to bridge gaps between modules. Wow. That's interesting. I'd like to see what that looks like. On top of climate change, modules get bounced around. Yeah. I'm sure that there's ways of securing them in those trailers, but you can only secure them so much. They can only get secured so much. Yeah, there's another thing, going from a frozen trailer to room temperature in a show and back. Exactly. It's the same thing. Or going in the opposite direction, going from a trailer that might be 50, 60, 70 degrees, or, that it might during the summertime. Let's say that son of a gun gets up to 95, 100, 110 degrees, and then you're going to go ahead and throw it into a building that's air conditioned at 65. How does that work? So yeah, going in either direction. Seal the wood with shellac. Anything is better than nothing. Yeah, that's true. You seal it, it won't expand and contract as much. Let's see here. Ken Amos, they are sealed with paint and plaster. Yeah, there you go. Let's see. Steve Kato has one in HO, at least in Japan, and I've heard N-scale people that use the N-scale one for modules and really love it. Interesting. I know that for anybody that may not, the Miniature Wonderland over in Germany, the big German layout with the airport, they were so concerned about expansion and contraction at that airport that they built, that model airport. They actually have sections that come out that they've marked as to what temperature they're for. So that way the layout can shift a little bit. But to me, that's just insane that they've got that thing that figured out, that they're down to that point. And let's see here. Won't stop it, but it'll help. Yep, it won't stop it, but it'll help. I thought I saw something that Sparky's getting ready to roll. Take it easy, sir. We'll see you, Dave. I have 2 original sections that my grandfather built during Christmas in the attic, and my uncle from it. Yeah, the same thing. Absolutely, Rodney. I mean, that's how a lot of us get started. Pico and Fleischmann used to have those track pieces at PK&W, but they stopped producing it. Huh. Okay. Now, like I said, take it easy, Sparky. Let's see, everybody's saying goodbye to Sparky, and I just saw Ron pop in. Ron Montague, welcome in, sir. Not a problem. We're still hanging out here. We'll probably be here for another 10 minutes or so. Just sitting here chatting about railroads and, you know, anything else that happens to roll in. But yeah, I mean, like I said, that's the big thing now is the fact that, you know, there are some things on this railroad that I wish I had done differently. That I may still go back and touch up or touch on before things get too far along or as I'm going through the scenery stuff. But you know, there is one thing that I definitely know I've got to work on, and that's the hill over here on the north end of the layout. It's just way too tall. So I know I've got to knock that down, and Artie is saying that here temperatures can change to the 40 degree. Yeah. I hear that. I mean, it's one of the things when you've got a climate controlled room that kind of helps with that expansion and contraction, but it's only going to do so much. You know, you're still going to have, it's still going to move. You know, it's still going to shift. The biggest thing is uneven floors. Yeah, I can see that being, you know, it's funny because I did take a page out of Lynn Westcott's thing about putting T-nuts and bolts into the bottom of the legs of this railroad, which gives you some adjustment, but that's, you know, there's only so much that those bolts can do. And, you know, they can only go so far. I mean, unless you went out and bought a 6-inch bolt, but then you're really relying on that thing not shifting. And no. That is actually one thing that you guys bring up here. That is one thing that I wish I would have done is actually raise this layout up a little bit more. So, you know, next time Ray will hire someone to build it for him and they'll be finished quicker. Yeah, well, but that takes all the fun out of it. Ken's got something here. Big layout. Bob Kenshall has gaps in most rail sections and has no derailment issues, and it sounds real. Probably spelled his last name wrong. Okay. That is one of the things that I've also heard a lot of folks talk about. And it's one of the things that I actually did on this one is there are sections of this that are not soldered. So that way it gives the railroad places to move and not open up so much or close up so much. Because I remember Big Bill Graham up at the Catastrophe Railroad, aka the South Brooklyn. He had talked about one time his wife went down to the basement and he had teepees where the track had did the something had contract and the tracks just went up in the ramp. So, oh, Rick. Now I've got a car jack up in the garage. I'm thinking about just jacking it up about probably another 1.5 to 2 inches off the floor. Probably better to do that now than wait until I get scenery on this thing because it's going to make it harder to move. It's not so much the height of the railroad. I believe most of the railroad is at about 38 to 40 inches. or 30, it's 36 to 38, 40 inches in some places because the floor isn't perfectly level. It's a basement, you know. I'd like to get it maybe another inch and a half to 2 inches up off the floor, because then I can actually use the crawler that I've got to be able to get underneath the layout, to be able to do extra wiring and things of that nature that I didn't do before I basically sealed everything up. The L girders hang down a little too far. So that's why I said I'd like to jack it up maybe another 2 inches, inch and a half to 2 inches, just to give me enough room that I'm not hitting my head when I go to wheel underneath the thing. Not that I have to do that all the time, but I would like to be able not to have to try to scooch over, you know. Leave it to Rick. Oh boy. Yeah, then that's true. That's true, Edward. Absolutely. Absolutely. So hopefully, that kind of answered that. Oh boy, I've been told mine's. Actually, I plan on making the room temperature in the garage uncomfortably warm and warm a day before I solder joints in the garage. Oh boy. Yeah, I mean the basement down here usually stays right around 70 degrees with about 40% humidity. It might get up a little bit higher. When it's more humid outside, it might hit 50. It might drop down to about 35 at some time, but for the most part, it's pretty steady down here. Hey Ray, at some of the woodworking stores, you may be able to attach leg leveling devices on the sides of your legs. I've seen those, and that's not a that's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea. I'm thinking my next layout will be eye level for the primary user, me. That means that maybe 5'5". Nice. Yeah, I mean this is one of those things. I remember somebody asking a long time ago, what's the best height for a railroad? And it's like, well, that's a loaded question, because everybody's going to want to do it a little bit differently because of how tall they are or how tall people in their family are. Obviously you don't want to make it 6 foot tall if the tallest person in your family is only 5 foot. That doesn't make much sense. They're going to be looking up at the thing. You also don't want to put it down at 2 foot if they're all 6 foot, because it's going to make it awfully hard for them to do anything on there. So like I said, I think I've heard for the most part, layouts for the most part are between 36 to 48 inches. And when I built this one here, I tried to shoot for the middle, which would have been, like I said, 40 inches, 44 inches, or 42 inches, somewhere in that range. And I got close, but the best height's exactly, Lynn. The best height is what's comfortable for you. The funny thing of it is I remember somebody, and I think it may have been Model Railroad, talked about this, that, people like the eye level layouts. And I mean, that's obviously a lot more realistic, because unless you're standing on top of a road bridge or something like that, you're not looking at the tops of the trains. You're looking at them from the side. If you're sitting there at a railroad crossing, you're not looking at the top, you're looking straight at it. So yeah, I mean, that's obviously a lot more realistic, but it also becomes a problem sometimes if you have to get under the layout to do anything, because now you're reaching way up there to get to it if you're on a chair. But there's another good one, Corey. How deep do you make it? This layout for the most part is 2.5 feet deep. I think there is one section that's a little deeper than that. It might be closer to 3, but everything is reachable from the edge. So let's see. Oh, not that one. I wanted that one. You have to go by the main operator. The right answer is neck high. Oh boy, I should have really read that before I put it up there. It's to each his own. And it just, like I said, it depends. I mean, here it is. I'm 6'2", so I've got about a 3-foot arm span. So, and it's about waist high. And I knew that most of the people that would be coming over here would probably be, around the same thing. So around that same height. So it's, and even for somebody that's a little bit like my daughter, who's only like 5 foot, maybe a little bit over that, but it's still comfortable for her to come down here when she runs to, and she's run a train on here. She's helped me with a couple of small things, but it's not. It's basically, like you said, it's user preference. Holy cow! I've got to get my tongue keeps getting twisted around my eye teeth, and I can't see what I'm saying. So, neck high to a grasshopper. But that here again, we've all just brought up a great point here too, and that's the fact that you're a railroad. You've got to build it your way. But the other part of it is at some point you're going to have to step back, bite the bullet, and just work with something. And in fact, David Popp had this idea years ago, going out and basically making a model of your basement or the room that you're going to put the railroad into, making a 3D model to see how it's going to interact with what's around it, to see if your ideas are going to work before you even cut a piece of wood, which I thought was a neat idea. And to a point, I was in the process of doing that with the last railroad. When I was going to build that new, when I was working on building the basement where that railroad was going to sit, and see how it was going to fit around all the different elements in that basement. So, raised your layout to 44 inches. Wow. How did you do that, Ron? I'm interested to know how you went ahead and raised yours up. Because that's a big move. 8 inches. That's a huge. That's quite a bit of distance. But here it is. Artie brought up something. Hey, you might want to just wheel. You can't wheel around the basement down here, unfortunately, Artie. I mean, that would be kind of cool, but since you go from carpet to concrete, across carpet, back to concrete, back to carpet, back to concrete, and then of course you got the bridge over on the other side where all the electrical comes through. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to do that. But let's see here. There was something. Yeah, the height of the layout depends on who's going to be viewing it. And you have to take that into consideration. Obviously, when you've got modular layouts like the ones that go to the train shows and the ones like Lynn McCurdy works on, you have to take into account, hey, I may have a 3 foot kid that may want to see what's going on. I've got to make an adjustment for that, or I've got to put some sort of a step or a ledge all the way around so that they have some place to stand, or give them a stool that they can get up and see the railroad. There you go, Rodney. There you go. As you get older, it can be a pain to get under the layout or get up after you get on. Yeah, that's the problem that I'm having too, Joe. And that's why I said I want to raise this thing up just a little bit. You know, like I said, 1.5 inches to 2 inches, maybe a little bit more than that. And I know I can do it. I mean, I know I can raise this thing up. Like I said, I could get a car jack up underneath of there and, you know, get blocks of 2x4s and get them up underneath of there or what have you. But, you know, I just didn't take into account that daggone L girder sticking down so far. And Ken's saying exactly why my new layout is going to be 1 level and not 3. Make your layout in the scale you're modeling. If HO, make an HO scale. Yeah, exactly. Make it 1/87th. You know, go ahead and actually drop it down the 1/87th scale. Right. I think what David Pop did is he actually scaled it down. He scaled his end scale or his basement down the G scale because it was easier to work with. I think it was like 1 foot to 1 inch or something like that. So, true, Joe. I could fall down easy, but getting up includes a lot of noises. I can relate. I was standing along the lines. Oh, standing for the messes up my back and legs are yeah, I get it, Artie. No, absolutely. Absolutely. We need to sit, stand. Oh, I'm sure I can find some people. Absolutely, Rodney. I'll let you know if I decide to do that. People have called me crazy. Of course, I'm already crazy about wanting to try and lift this thing. But like I said, it's just one of those things that kind of just drives me crazy. I wish I would have had the forethought to go ahead and raise it up a little bit taller than what it is. But it is. I have a lot of old man sound effects. You know, it's funny. When I was a kid, I used to eat Rice Krispies when snap, crackle, pop. Now that's what I sound like when I go to get out of bed. But anyway, folks. Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing, Artie. We're all getting older. We're not getting younger. Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? Well, folks, I'm going to go ahead. The 1 minute warning. Oh, yeah, if the lift desks weren't so, yeah, that's true, Ken. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, all right, folks. I am going to go ahead and call it a night. I appreciate everybody stopping in. You all have a good week. Don't forget that John number 2 from the Schuylkill River Valley has Sidetrack Sunday next week, and I will not be there. Unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, we've got a family function that we're going to be doing next Sunday, so I will not be on. So, unfortunately, John number 2, you're going to be short a moderator next week. Sorry, buddy. So, other than that, you all know the deal. Wait for the high ball. Green tracks ahead. We'll catch you all next time. Be safe. God bless. We will see you.